Back live here on College Football Pregame from Madison, Wisconsin. We are so excited to be among the fans. They're still kind of waking up, getting ready for this day. But let's talk about last night. Miami loses to Louisville in a one-score battle. But what the heck happened to Carson Beck? 4 interceptions from him. At one point, he was up there on the Heisman odds. Damian, what happened to him? What happened to Miami?
Well, we've talked about Miami and Mario Cristobal were due for a performance like this. Well, meanwhile, Georgia fans have been sitting here saying, wait, Carson Beck is due for a game like he had last night. Listen, you are what you are. Carson Beck has been prone to turning the football over in high-pressure situations. When the game is close, whenever they need a score, he presses, he turns the football over. Then I turned to Mario Cristobal. There were some questionable decisions that he made. The tempo in which they played with, the play calling at the end of the game. They slowed it down and then tried to speed it back up at one point. When you're at home, when you're the one of the best teams in the country, you're pressing. You show that you are the dominant team. You show that you have the more skilled players. You show that you have better coaching, that you are a better coached team, and you go out and deliver. And so many times when we see Miami get in situations like this, going back to last year against Georgia Tech, there's plenty of other situations where we can point at the coaching, we can point at bad quarterback play, and turning the football has always been the Achilles heel for Miami in the big moments. So again, you are what you are, and Miami has made a habit of this. So all this talk about the U being back, my man Beanie, he was one of the campaigners saying the U is back. Well, guess what? They're not. They are what they are, which is a pretty good football team right now, but they are not unbeatable.
Well, that's the problem, is we saw them win some big games. We saw them just demolish the teams through their schedule, but we're always in the back of our mind, like, do we trust Miami? How do we trust him now?
It's so hard to, man. Last night proved that, to a T. You can't trust him in big moments, and you can't trust Carson Beck. He reverted to the Carson Beck in which we saw last year at Georgia. The inconsistencies, the throwing, the inopportune interceptions. But honestly, I typically, in this situation, would blame Mario Cristobal. It was all about the play calling. When you see that your quarterback, your star quarterback is struggling, run it! Run the football. You cannot win a game with your starting running back getting 8 carries for 18 yards. It's just not going to happen. They ran for 63 yards in that football game. Why not switch up the tempo for the entire game? And then on the flip side of that, when you look on the defensive side, they got 1 sack. That's been, the strength of Miami's football team is their defense, specifically the defensive front. We've been talking about all year, them revamping. They got no pressure on Miller Moss all night.
First and foremost, shouts out to Chris Bell. He is a solidified first-round wide receiver in the NFL draft upcoming. He was outstanding. He reminds me a lot of A.J. Brown. They had no answer for him. 9 receptions for 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. Every time he touched the football, he made a difference for Louisville, and he's one of the top dogs at that wide receiver position, in my opinion. But everything you guys said, I don't disagree with. You talked about the issues with Miami under Mario Cristobal. You guys kept emphasizing one word: trust. Trust. And you know why, in terms of Cristobal and trust in his ability to coach and deliver the goods and coach at a high level? When you look at his record, shouts out to our producer, Noah, by the way. This is a cool stat associated with Mario Cristobal since being the head coach down there in Miami. In the month of August and September, in his career as the head coach of Miami, he's 15-2. In the months of October and November, he's 12-14.
When it matters most.
That's not a cool
when it matters most. In the month of August, September, they're playing against lesser talented teams. Non-conference, always at home. But when you get into October and November, where the great teams separate themselves from the rest of the pack, he struggles. When you talk about issues a year ago, Georgia Tech, October, Syracuse, November. Guess what happened last night? October, Louisville comes to town. This has been the calling card for Mario Cristobal in an era where he has so much talent. Last year, you had the top quarterback in the country, the best player in the draft, in Cam Ward, and you have nothing to show for it because you didn't even compete for an ACC championship. And if it happens again, we will have to do a case study on what is going on, because when you look at the talent that you all referenced, they have it. Offensive line, quarterback, even though Carson Beck didn't have his best day, they struggle. You cannot have another year with all that talent and you don't at least compete for an ACC championship.
While we're all sitting here crushing Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricane, let's stop acting like they lost to a bad team from the MAC. Louisville can actually play some football, and we do need to give some credit. They're 5-1. They're going to be in the top 25 this week. Jeff Brom is a great football coach. Isaac Brown went off for 113 yards on the ground, right in the shadows of where he grew up. And Miller Moss outplayed Carson Beck. And by the way, some of those interceptions were phenomenal defensive plays. So I think the lesson that we should learn is nobody is trustworthy in college football. Bama lost by 2 touchdowns to Florida State. Never thought we saw that happen. Oregon lost last week as a touchdown favorite against Indiana in their backyard. I think this is more about the parity in college football and maybe some depth that's showing up in the ACC than anything. Granted, it's a bad loss for Miami, but that is the case. We need to give Louisville some credit.
I don't know.
Real quick, before you get him, it ain't about parity in college. Hold on, Danny. It ain't about parity in college football. In the month of October and November, Mario Cristobal is 12 and 14.
Now, B-Mac. Now, hold on, wait. Now, what is so important about the months of October and November? Because that's when championship football starts.
You better believe it.
That's when championship football starts.
Thankfully for Alabama, because if it started in August, we wouldn't be talking about them. They still lost. See, that's the thing that drives me nuts about our system, because it is a beauty contest and it's who gets invited. If you lose early, it doesn't impact you as much as if you lose late. So I agree with you guys. This is devastating to Miami. I think they'll be fine as long as they don't do what they did last year and lose 2 games.
Hold on now. Because if Georgia Tech finish out the rest of their conference schedule undefeated,
and Virginia
finishes out the rest.
If they're 11-1, they're
they're not.
I think the biggest thing with Miami,
they beat Notre Dame.
They're not.
They beat Florida.
Wait, guys.